Hey guys, so following on my previous video, I just wanted to expand the topic about sleep. I haven't prepared anything. It's gonna be raw, unfiltered, and unedited, so bear with me. Um, but I think most people have no real understanding of how important sleep is. And it's just not just a general concept, but I've studied the topic of sleep for quite some time. I've worked in the field of altered states of consciousness for over 10 years, and obviously, sleeping is related, whether you meditate or you fall asleep or you get up in the morning, what's happening, what are the different phases at night, when you sleep, when you truly recover or not, when you dream, etc. So I have some understanding on that matter, and I wanted to elaborate a little bit more about the importance of sleep and to break it down for you. So I was mentioning about talking about recovery, and stress management, but that falls or ties back to a proper sleep. So few things that needs to keep in mind about sleeping. I know it's hard. I'm gonna be very straightforward and transparent because I understand our modern society, our social behavior as a species where we often go out in the evening and do things in the evening and meet people at the end of the day because most of the time we work during daytime. So still, I'm going to talk to you about our biology and what's really important for our body. Now, it is known and a fact that some of the most important and powerful time of the night to recover is the hours before midnight. There are reasons uh, related to how our melatonin is released in the body and in which quantity it is released. There's a higher level and a higher peak in the melatonin release in the hours before midnight. Um, so it's very important to go to sleep, I would say, as early as possible. We're not monks or kids where, we're being sent to bed at like 8 or 9, but still, that would be very beneficial. I'm also, and that's part of my own routine and lifestyle, but I tend to get up very early in the morning. So that forces me to go to bed early in the evening because I need my like 7.5, 8 hours of sleep. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like a zombie. But I mean, if I go to bed at like 11:30 or 12, I'll never be able to get up at 5:30, 6 in the morning as I usually want, because that's part of my routine. I usually wake up very early. I go to the gym at 6, and then I do my day activities, work, etc. But um, so that's the first thing. Understanding that going to bed early is paramount for a higher level of recovery. Now, your sleep is made of different cycles. Um, Pretty much like every 1 hour and a half or 90 minutes, every 90 minutes, there's a full cycle in the different phases of your sleep, going through light sleep, um, and then deep sleep, back to light sleep, and then paradoxal sleep, um, where we usually actually dream, and then back into light sleep and deep sleep. But the thing is, the most phases of deep sleep happen in the first part of the night. We have hardly none of it in the second or last part of the night when we're getting close to the morning. And the deep sleep phases are extremely important because that's where the body recover, regenerate, heal, and for babies and kids and teenagers, uh, where we grow, you know. So that's why a baby in the first couple of months after his birth is sleeping so much, because there's a huge growth of his bones, muscles, joints, um, and the body needs deep sleep to access or to trigger the growth. If you have a bad sleep quality and you have hardly any deep sleep phases in your sleep, and you have only like light sleep phases and paradoxal sleep, um, most usually you'll wake up in the morning exhausted, drained. So that's why, you know, the famous beauty sleep is so important. Um, so to go as early as possible, you know, obviously I'm not gonna say go to bed at 9 every day. It's just not possible. I mean, most people finish work late. They have maybe a family life, or a spouse, or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. I don't know. Sports. Um, they have to balance out, what's important to them. But nevertheless, a proper sleep includes a proper time of rest. And there are two aspects when we talk about sleep: is the time you spend in bed and the time you actually sleep in bed. So you may spend like 8 hours in bed, like, I don't know, you go to bed at, let's say, 10:30, and then you're up by I don't know, 6:30 the next day. But in actuality, you're actually going to sleep maybe just for 6.5, 7 hours, you know. So that's two different things that we also need to keep in mind. Um, it's not because you go to bed at that time and you get up at that time that's the amount of sleep you had. You probably had much less, because the time you need also to fall asleep, quiet your mind, and fall asleep is also very important. And it takes time, and more time. And there's a few reasons for it, but a big one, especially with young people and young adults, is the use of screens and those famous blue lights, right? Because we know it stimulates the brain instead of just calming down the brain. I can totally understand, because I do it sometimes myself. So I enjoy watching some videos in my bed, but after that time, you need time for the brain to settle down. So either by reading a book, um, or maybe listening to some music, or meditating, it's all good things. But you can't just switch your TV or your screen, your phone, and then turn off the light and expecting to fall asleep right away. I mean, it may happen, but practically and biologically, it is very likely that it's not going to happen. And the more you have those, excuse me, but those bad routine, and the more likely you're going to have a challenge or trouble to fall asleep quickly. And that's going to influence your recovery. So this is very important. And so going to bed early, prioritizing, you know, an early time to bed, not using screens and things like this just before going to bed. Have some time off from screens before switching off the lights. But reading's good. Listening to music, meditating, having sex, whatever. But things that will help also ease the mind, quiet, calm down the body, and your nervous system, because the blue light stimulates the nervous system, and that's not what we want. So that's it. That's about what I wanted to share about sleep. So try to keep these ideas and notions in mind, and I'm curious to hear from you, like if you comment below, hello, write down in the comments. I'm just curious to know, what you're going through, what's your routine to fall asleep or not, and how we can, learn from each other.